Hello friends, recently the government has formed a panel to study the feasibility of simultaneous elections in India. Today we will be analyzing this topic. If you want to download this slide, the link is in the description box. If you want to listen to this video in Hindi, then you can go to our another channel, that is prepezee. The link for that also is there in the description box. So basically the government has formed a panel which will study the feasibility of simultaneous elections to both Lok Sabha as well as the state legislative assemblies in India. The panel will be headed by ex-President Ramnath Kovind. Basically, the Prime Minister currently, that is PM Modi, he has been advocating simultaneous elections to both Lok Sabha as well as the state legislative assemblies. So let us first understand that how the system has changed, what it was existing earlier, and then we will discuss the pros and cons of the system, and then what are the suggestions if the system needs to be brought into place. So earlier, when India became independent, the first general elections were held in 1952. At that time, the elections to both Lok Sabha as well as all the state legislative assemblies, they were held together in 1952. Then again, the second elections were similarly held in 1957, and even this time also, all the states went to poll simultaneously along with the Lok Sabha. However, in 1959, the situation changed. Kerala was the first state in which the state legislative assembly was dissolved. The state was at that time, it was being headed by Namboodiripad government, and it was dissolved, and the elections in the state that took place in 1960 for the formation of next government. After that, it led to dissolution of legislative assemblies in many states, and then this situation changed. Now the elections had to be conducted whenever the state legislative assemblies were dissolved. In fact, there was only a period of 6 months in which the election commission had to conduct an election. So then the things changed, and in fact many Lok Sabhas also, they were also dissolved prematurely. For example, in 1971, then 1980, then 1984 also, then 1991, and in fact in the times of 1998, 99, when Atal Bihari Vajpayee government was there, there was instability in the central government also, and it was dissolved multiple times. Then in 2004, and since then we can see that there has been a stability at least at the center, and we can see that stability also exists at the level of states also. So since then the situation has changed a bit. After that, see, when this instability started to persist and many of the governments were dissolved, they were dislodged in the states, then started the need for simultaneous polls. In fact, many experts, they started discussing this question that whether the simultaneous polls were required in India or not. In 1999, in the 170th report, the then chairman of Law Commission, Justice B.P. Jeevan Reddy, he said that we need a situation where we go back to the idea of Lok Sabha and Legislative Assembly elections which are being held at once, that is simultaneously. So after that, this discussion started to take place. So now let us understand that what are the pros, that why we should be having one nation, one elections. First of all, see, when the elections are held every year in different states, many elections are being held every year, then at that time we see that the cost increases. Why? Because see, the cost of having an election are enormous. First, we need to move the different the EVMs, electronic voting machines. Along with that, we have voter verified paper trail system, that VVPAT system. Then again, we need security personnel in different places, so they need to be moved. Therefore, there is a huge cost of conducting an election. And if we can get it done once in 5 years, then that is okay, because in democracy, this is actually a necessary evil. But then if we have to conduct this election every year, then it becomes a huge burden. See, again, this idea of having elections every year in different states, it is costing for the administrative authorities also. The IAS officers who are actually tasked with looking after the delivery of services, their focus now turns to holding the elections. Therefore, the cost of the development suffers, the delivery of services, it suffers. In fact, we see that, even the education system suffers. Why? Because the teachers are involved in the polling duties. Many of the health services officials, that is the authorities, the government officers posted in hospitals, they are deputed for the polling duty, and therefore even these services, they suffer. Again, development suffers. Why? Because see, whenever the Election Commission of India, it will announce any election to any state or even the Lok Sabha, then model code of conduct, it comes into force. So despite the need of having new schemes in the state as well as the national level, the government is not allowed to announce any new schemes when the model code of conduct has been enforced in the country or in the state. Therefore, the development suffers. Then again, we have many intangible costs also. See, for example, what happens is that when elections are being held every year, then the ministers who are actually politicians, they are engaged in this system. The ministers who are star campaigners, they are the leaders who are recognized by the people, they have to go to the different states. There they go for campaigning. They are also involved in the candidate selection. They have to form the strategy for winning the elections. And therefore, there is a lack of leadership. The IAS officers, the IPS officers, they don't know whom to turn to because the politicians are their guiding light. They tell that what the people want, and therefore the IAS officers look up to the politicians to understand the demands of the people. But in these times, the politicians are busy. The ministers are busy, and IAS officers, they don't have any leadership. Again, the Law Commission of India, it has also said that when elections are held every year or every 2 years, then voters, they get fatigued. Because when the elections are happening in such a time, the voters also say that, okay, the elections, they were just held right now also, that why elections are happening again. So they don't even go to vote. But if the elections are held once in every 5 years, then we can expect the voters to come out in more numbers. Law Commission of India has also said this thing. In fact, see, when multiple elections are being held at the same time, that is to Lok Sabha also and to State Legislative Assembly also, then we will see that the voters, they will place more value to their coming out because they have to cast 2 votes. Earlier, they had to cast 1 vote separately, and for the second vote, that is for the Lok Sabha or the Legislative Assembly, they had to go separately at a different time. But now, when they are coming out once, they have to cast 2 votes, and therefore the value of their coming out, it increases. So they come out in more numbers. Therefore, there is increased voter turnout also. Now, let us understand what are the challenges to this. See, first of all, it is very difficult to implement. Why? Because this is not a system we chose. It evolved. How? See, initially, as I just told you, that 1952, all states and Lok Sabha, they went to elections together. But what happened later? One state, the Legislative Assembly was dissolved. So therefore, in that state, the elections were forced earlier. Similarly, other state, then next state, then next state. So the states, they started to separate. Their election cycle started to separate. Similarly, the Lok Sabha also, it got dissolved prematurely many times. So therefore, this system, it was not chosen. It developed through the time. So now, if we say that, okay, let's say from today onwards, that is from 2024 onwards, we'll be having simultaneous elections. But let's say in 2025, government in any state, let's say Tamil Nadu or Andhra or Odisha, it gets dissolved. Then what will happen? Are we going to wait for 2029 to conduct the elections? In that state also, we'll be having 4 years of president rule. That is not possible in a democracy. Otherwise, this state is in a limbo. There will be no development. So therefore, we need to look into this possibility that how it has to be done. Similarly, if we want to do it, we will have to amend the constitution. We will have to amend the laws, that is Representation of People Act 1951, and we have to amend the rules of procedure governing Lok Sabha and the state legislative assemblies. For example, Article 83 and 172, they are for duration of House and the state legislative assembly. So it says that the duration will be 5 years. And then again it says that if the state legislative assembly is dissolved, the elections would be held after 6 months, within a period of 6 months. Now this is not possible, because if we are going to wait for legislative assembly of a state and then the election should be held simultaneously, then it would have to wait longer. for the other legislative assemblies also, for the Lok Sabha also. So we have to amend it. The durations need to be amended. Then again, the president has the power that on the advice of the ministers, the president can dissolve the Lok Sabha as well as the dissolution of state legislatives take place. Now this also has to be amended, because now you cannot dissolve this. If you are having simultaneous elections and still the state legislative assemblies, they are being dissolved, then what is the point? We'll come back to the same system. So therefore we cannot have that. Again, in Article 356, we can impose president rule in the states. But again, this is also for a limited time. So we have to change this provision also. Either we'll have to elongate this period, or we'll have to see to it that some other system comes into this place. Then there are other points also. For example, see, this system of one nation, one election, it is against federalism. That is what experts say. How? See, right now, the central government, it is formed on the issues which are related to the nation. That is the boundary issues, the connectivity issues, the foreign relations. So all these things, they come together, and then the people, they vote for center. But the elections at the level of states, they are held on the regional issues. And regional issues are different for different states. For Uttar Pradesh, for Bihar, major issue is literacy. We need more education here. The literacy levels are down. We need more employment. We need more development. We need to raise the level of health. But in Kerala, these are not the issues. Kerala literacy is already very good. Here, the problem is the welfare of old people, the old population. So therefore, the states, they are having different issues. In fact, so Jammu and Kashmir, we have the problem of insurgency. Northeast, we have a problem of insurgency. We have the different regional terrains which are not leading to development. So therefore, the regional issues, they are different. But if simultaneous elections are being held, it is expected that when the voter turns out, they have just discussed only center issues. That is, their mind is focused on the issues which are prevailing at the level of nation. China is having incursions into the Indian territory. What is the role of Indian government in Ukraine crisis? But that is not something which we are concerned about at the state level. Therefore, the state parties, the smaller parties which are there at the level of states, for example, Shiv Sena in Maharashtra is there, Biju Janata Dal is there in Odisha, then DMK, IADMK are there in Tamil Nadu. These parties will suffer because people are going to vote for the national parties. That is BJP. If we can call Congress also, at this time it is not having that much of a strength, but then it is also, we are seeing some kind of resurgence. So regional parties suffer at the hands of national parties if one nation, one elections or simultaneous elections are taking place. Then again, see, the cost will be there. The cost will be there. We will see. In fact, see, one more point in regional parties also, that Yogendra Yadav from the Swaraj India president, he says that this is not just one nation, one election we are talking about. If this is going to be held, then there will be one nation, one election, one party, one leader. We will be going towards presidential system, not the parliamentary system. In presidential system, people are voting for an individual like Barack Obama, Donald Trump in US. In parliamentary system, you are voting for a party. You are voting for policies of that party, BJP, Congress, CPIM, SP, BSP, like that. Again, cost involved will be very high. See, for example, if we are having simultaneous elections, at each polling booth, we will be having two machines, EVMs, two EVMs, then two VVPATs. So how do you see to that these many EVMs will be required? Then again, so much election machinery, that is security personnel, would be required. So the costs involved are enormous, but then again they are one time, so they can be managed, but then again that is also a point which can be used. So if you want to hold it, then what are the suggestions? See, first of all, experts now say that the feasibility of having one nation, one election is now in place actually. Earlier it was not possible, but now it is possible because of two reasons. First of all, in 1985, anti-defection law came. So before that, what used to happen is that many media reports, they said that whenever any MP, MLA, they were given any kind of let's say reward or penalty or whatever, they will be given money and they will switch to some other party for ministerial post also. That was being quoted in the media. But now after anti-defection law it came, the MPs, MLAs, they were afraid if they had to shift to another party, they have to first resign from their position. So now it is not possible for an MP, MLA to shift their loyalty without actually first resigning, and therefore now you see that stability of the governments has now increased. Similarly, in SR Bommai case in 1994, till then what was happening? Central government, it was dismissing the state governments whenever it used to take charge. Whenever new government used to form, state governments were being dismissed under Article 356. But in SR Bommai case, Supreme Court said that this is not your discretion. You cannot dissolve a state government just because it is not from your own party. You have to take a decision in the interest of the state, that is the people who have voted for that government, and if they want that party to remain in power, then it will remain. If that party holds confidence in the legislative assembly of the state, then you have no right to dismiss that government. So after that, we see that the stability has increased and therefore there is a possibility of having one nation, one election. But then again, there have to be certain changes which are required. For example, see, let's say 2024, all states or the Lok Sabha, they go for simultaneous elections. And let's say after 2 years, that is in 2026, state in any government, let's say Kerala or let's say Maharashtra, it gets dissolved. So for these 3 years, what will happen? Now the experts say that if you want to have simultaneous elections, then if a new government is being elected, then it will be elected for the rest of that period. That is only for 3 years, not for whole 5 years, not for a new term of 5 years, only till 2029. Then we will be having a new government. Or else there is an alternate system also. What is the possibility? See, let's say 2024 government, let's say 2024, let's just assume that PM Modi is elected again. I don't know the possibility, I'm just saying, let's say the party is elected again. In 2026, again Rahul Gandhi from Congress comes up and says that I want to move a no confidence motion. Now in the present system, if this no confidence motion is passed, what will happen? The government will fall and we will have a new election. But that is not possible because the new election are going to be held in 2029. Therefore, we cannot bring this no confidence motion. It cannot be allowed. Rather than that, in place of no confidence motion, we will have a constructive vote of no confidence. What do we mean by that? So therefore, in this constructive vote of no confidence, rather than saying that Prime Minister Modi no longer holds the confidence, the person who is bringing in this motion has to say that I, Rahul Gandhi, now hold confidence of 273 or whatever number required to form the government. So you cannot just say that this present government is not having confidence. You have to say that rather than them, I am having the confidence or the third person is having confidence. So if this government has to fall, then a new government will take charge for the rest of the period of that Lok Sabha. So that is called constructive vote, where you are proposing an alternative government for the rest of the duration of that Lok Sabha. So that is required if you are serious about implementing one nation, one election. These or some other things on these similar lines would be required. So that is the major issues. Now the mains question: critically examine the feasibility and desirability of the idea of one nation, one election in a parliamentary form of government like India. See, here you have to first understand. See, the answers which I am getting, I am seeing that you are forgetting one or the other point. For example, here, first of all, you have to be critical. That is, you cannot just write the pros here. You have to write cons also. You cannot just write even either pros or cons. Even if you are in support of this idea or you are against this idea, you have to give both the dimensions. First write pros or first write cons and then write the other thing, that is pros and cons. You have to write if it is writing critically. Even if it is not writing critically, as an administrator, as a logical person, you have to give both sides of the argument. Then again, the feasibility. First of all, is this idea feasible? We want it, but is it feasible? No. Then how can you have it? For example, see DPSPs, Director Principle of State Policies. All of these ideas, they were desirable. We wanted to have equal pay for equal work. We wanted to give every person a good environment. We wanted to afford good health services. We wanted to give every child education. But at that time, it was not feasible. So they were put in DPSPs. All the ideas were desirable, but not feasible. So is that feasible or not feasible? Are you having enough funds? Are you having technical superiority? Are you having technical know-how to implement this idea? And then second point is desirability. Whether this idea is good for India or not. If it is feasible that yes, it can be implemented, should we have it? Whether it will benefit us or it will lead to a loss. That is the desirability. So you have to analyze the feasibility also, whether it is possible or not, and desirability, whether it is likable or not. And then the third point is in a parliamentary form of government. So you have to discuss that what is parliamentary, what is presidential, and then see to it that in parliamentary government, are we having this idea is feasible, this idea is desirable or not? Because we are not having presidential system as of now. So whatever ideas, whatever points you have, write that in the comment section and mail, or if you are writing on a piece of paper also, then just take a photo from your camera and then mail to us at prepezee@gmail.com so that we can give you a detailed feedback and improve your answer writing. If you like this article, please like, share and subscribe. Thank you.